Ever pinch pennies all year for that one family vacation only to feel the budget blues afterwards? If so, I was just like you. After 3 vacationless years, I stumbled on credit card rewards travel and cracked the code to amazing vacations that I could actually afford.
Welcome to Wonderland on Points. In this podcast, you will discover how opening credit cards strategically can save you thousands on travel. We're not just dreamers anymore. We're 2 adventurous moms turning dreams into reality. Join us as we spill all the points and miles secrets.
And contrary to popular belief, you don't have to spend $1 million to earn 1,000,000 points. Traveling on credit card points isn't reserved for those with overflowing bank accounts. It's for everyday people like you and me, learning to turn routine expenses into free travel.
Consider us your points travel guides. This is Wonderland on Points. Let the adventure begin. It's another wonderful, I was about to sing, it's another wonderful day on the podcast.
Like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, I'm leaving this in. I'm not cutting it out. That was amazing.
Welcome back, everyone, to Wonderland on Point's neighborhood. We are hope you're doing well, neighbor. We are talking Switzerland today.
Yay! So excited to talk about this because I have actually been working to keep myself from asking too many questions because I wanted to hear it all fresh on recording. I was living so vicariously through all of your stories and your reels and your Sound of Music moments, and I am so jealous and so excited that you got to do this. And I do want to let everybody know this is kind of a 2-parter in that your amazing business class experiences are going to be their own episode because there's so much there that we figured we're going to save it for another time. So this is really going to be us digging into the Switzerland part of everything, and the flights we will save for later. But you did get an incredible redemption. So start us off there. Tell us what the redemption was. Just don't give away too many details.
Sure. So we were able to fly to Switzerland from Dulles, which is in the Washington, D.C. area. And if you're ever looking for flights to Europe, a lot of times you can find good things out of Dulles, which is IAD, or New York City. A lot of these big East Coast cities have great deals. So we flew from Dulles to Geneva, Switzerland, and we routed through Paris. We were on Air France. It was business class. And the retail cost of one of these flights is about $6,000.
That's
which
crazy.
Yeah, the thought of someone paying that I cannot handle. We absolutely would not. We paid 70,000 points plus the taxes, which ended up being $224 a person. So in our mind, points plus a little over $200 a person was worth it for business class for such a big special trip for us. This was a big anniversary trip. So we went for the business class.
Absolutely. And that honestly is a great redemption. $6,000 flight, like so good. I wish I could ask more about it right now, but I'm going to refrain. So before we get into the itinerary, maybe just start with some recommendations and general trips about traveling to Switzerland.
Yes, so there are some helpful things to know if you are planning a trip to Switzerland, if you are unfamiliar with the country, and there's just so much that I didn't know that my husband did a lot of this research. And when we got there, I was like, oh, wow, I wondered how we were going to do this. And so these are some tips.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, there was so much. He spent hours researching this trip, which was such a blessing for us both.
Yeah.
So the things that we need to know right off the bat that will help you feel better, there is an app that you must download if you are going to Switzerland. It is called SBB Mobile App. SBB Mobile App. That is like the public transportation app for all of Switzerland.
Oh.
All in one happy little place on an app. It has all the timetables like it's multiplication, but all the timetables for the trains, the buses, the boats. There's so much getting around Switzerland on public transportation. It's all in that app. And
It's so helpful.
So helpful. Once you get comfortable with that app, you can just instantly pull up everything. Like we would be on a train and he'd be looking at the app and he would say, okay, we're going to get off this train. We're going to go to platform 5. We're going to do like off of one train right onto the next train because everything in Switzerland is on time.
Oh my gosh. What
It
is
is
that like?
so beautiful. It is like something that we Americans cannot understand because everything, all the planes, all the trains, all the buses, all the boats, they were on time. It was the most beautiful thing, and you can kind of keep up with it all via that app. So you must download the SBB mobile app.
Maybe we'll put the link for that in the show notes for people. So if you're looking for it, we'll have it below for you. What are the costs like for the public transportation? Is it pretty hefty or are there some reasonable options?
It can be expensive, but there are some options. So you're going to want to look into two things. You're going to want to look into the Swiss Travel Pass and also something called a half fare card. Now, you don't usually get both of these, you'll get one or the other, and you need to look into for the itinerary that you have, which one ends up giving you more savings. So for us, we went with something called the Swiss Travel Pass, and they sell it in day increments. So like a 2-day pass, a 3-day pass, a 6-day pass. They didn't have a 7-day pass, which a little bit blew my mind because I'm like, that's a happy little week, 7 days.
Yeah. Yep. That's weird.
So we had a 6-day pass and then we had a day of our travel. We figured out which day it would be best on the front or back end to not have the pass based on our itinerary. So we had the Swiss Travel Pass. And one thing that I loved about it is it kind of gives you a discount overall when you buy in bulk like that. And you can use it for all of the public transportation, the metro in Lausanne. You can use it for the trains between cities. You can use it for buses. You can use it for boats that take you on boat cruises, all of the public transportation.
Wow.
And we didn't have to buy tickets for most of those. You just simply walk on. This is the greatest thing about Switzerland, Joe. I have to tell you this because they have it right and we do not. When you board any kind of public transportation, you don't show anybody a ticket. There's no one standing there punching your ticket. There's no thing that you scan to get onto whatever transportation it is. So there's no lines. There's no lines to get
How
on
do
things.
they
You just
verify?
walk on.
How do they know?
They spot check. They spot check. So people will come, workers, employees will come on every once in a while randomly and do random checks. They'll walk around the train and say, show me your pass, show me your pass. And they'll scan and you never know when they're coming. And so about maybe 50% of the time we were riding a bus or something, they would come on and check our pass. And about 50% of the time, no one ever checked anything. We just walked
Wow.
on, rode, and walked off.
So people are just honorable and they're too afraid of getting spot checked to like try to hack the system. I love that. I feel like you couldn't even get away with that here. I feel like everyone would abuse it.
It's so nice. And that's how they keep things on time
Oh,
because
it's
they
amazing.
there's no lines to get on. It's beautiful. Anyway, it's a
Ugh.
beautiful thing. One thing to note, they may ask for your passport. So if you have the Swiss
Mhm.
Travel Pass, be ready that when they check your travel pass, some people don't. One person did. So out of the times that we got checked, one lady said, okay, show me your passports because your name is on the Swiss Travel Pass and they match it up.
I
So
see.
you can do that. The other good thing about the Swiss Travel Pass is it can get you free entrance to a lot of museums and attractions. So
Oh,
factor that in. My husband made a whole spreadsheet and said, okay, this is our itinerary. These are the things that how much everything cost. If we have the Swiss Travel Pass, this is what will be free. And that's how he figured out whether it was better for us to have the Swiss Travel Pass versus the half fare card. Now, the half fare card gets you, it's basically half the price of whatever the route is. So if the train ticket costs 15 CHF, then it's half. So it would be 750. So look into which is better. Now with the half fare card, each time you ride something, you need to buy a ticket and it's half price, but you
mm,
need to actually buy the ticket. I loved that the Swiss Travel Pass, there was no buying anything. You just
it's
already had it.
amazing.
So it was
Yeah.
super smooth.
Yeah, and it allows you to make as many like spontaneous decisions, I feel like, as you want with like where you want to go and when.
Yes, I when we did that because another
Oh,
big thing to know about Switzerland is the weather is kind of insane and changes with mountains, changes all the time. You never know what it's going to be. So there's a lot of times that you need to pivot your itinerary. And
mhm.
so having that flexibility, I really liked.
That's amazing. We will link the Swiss Travel Pass stuff below as well. I think we're going to have a lot of helpful things in the show notes for this episode, you guys. So if there's anything you hear us talk about today, check the show notes before you head off to Google because we might have it there for you already. Before we switch gears to talk about Geneva a little bit, is there anything else about the trains that we need to know or transportation in general?
Couple more things, quick things. All of the trains and on the boats sometimes, the first floor and second floor, there will be the number 1 or the number 2. I didn't know this. Of course, my husband did because he did the research. The number 1 on the train means basically first class. You needed to pay a different price, or the number 2 everybody can get on. So when you're boarding a train and you're just like running to catch the train and you go run on, make sure you don't go in a number 1 car. You need to go in the number 2 cars. And then the last thing, which also blew my mind and is the most helpful thing, when you are traveling, and I think this is common throughout Europe, but throughout Switzerland, there are lockers at all of the train stations,
Oh,
big lockers that you can rent for your suitcases. So if you are we flew into Geneva and we were flying out of Zurich. So we were making our way through Switzerland. And so sometimes we would travel to a city and then we wanted to get out and explore, do an activity, but of course we didn't want to carry our suitcases around. So I'm talking about all of the train stations have these lockers.
oh
And for
my
the most
gosh.
part, you can use your credit card. It's super easy to get them. There was only one that we ran into. Some of the smaller train stations in little tiny cities may have one that you need to use coins. But
Hmm.
for the most part, you can use your credit card, you get a locker, store your suitcases, and then go explore. It's
Oh
fabulous.
my gosh. They are like in the future over there. What is that? It sounds incredible. I want to go. Okay, well, let's start in Geneva then. What were some of the highlights of Geneva, Switzerland? I mean, your videos and pictures just, I bet, don't even do it justice, and they're so stunning.
Yeah, nothing, of course, can do anything justice. But Geneva, one of the things that I was surprised to learn, because again, I feel like I booked the flights and the hotels, but I walked into this all completely blind for what I was going to experience.
That sounds very fun to
Geneva,
me. Just take me
I,
away.
yes, I'd like that too. Geneva is the French speaking part of Switzerland. So Switzerland
Oh,
borders all these countries. And so part of Switzerland is French speaking, part of it is German, and part of it is Italian. And so it's very noticeable when you move to different parts of the country. Oh, okay, we left the French speaking section. Now we're in the German speaking section. But Geneva is in the French speaking section. So it's a lot of I don't know, gives you those French vibes because it's very
yeah.
near France. So we went to we just kind of wandered around the city. There was a couple of things that we really wanted to see, this statue of this famous reformer named John Calvin and a Reformation museum. We went up in one of the churches. You could go all the way up to the very top of the Cathedral Saint Pierre, Geneva. And let me just go ahead and apologize. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I'm going to do my very best. I do not speak French. I do not speak German. So there are going to be some mistakes here. But it was a beautiful cathedral, and you could go all the way to the very top and have a 360-degree view of Geneva that was just beautiful. You could see the water. There's this massive fountain that shoots up out of the
Ugh.
lake in Geneva. That was really special. And then we also went and visited the United Nations.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, there's just the flags, all the country flags that line the United Nations was really neat to see. And it was also kind of somber. There was a lot of protesting from various groups, multiple different groups around that area. And they were all peaceful protests, but it was interesting to be in this place, in this nation that kind of represents peace and be in that spot of the United Nations. So we really enjoyed that. And of course, the nurse and me had us go to the Red Cross Museum. So
Oh,
we
that's
toured
actually
that.
so cool.
It really was. There was a very moving exhibit where they had all of these chain links hanging down, links of chains. And then you went in and there were rows and rows of drawers that pulled out name cards. And it was a whole exhibit about how they help people that get separated from family during war times,
Oh,
children, injured, all kinds of people, prisoners of war, and how they reunite them with family members. That was really
aw.
cool exhibit at that museum. So that's all we really did in Geneva. It was a very quick day for us. It was the day that we flew in that we were very tired. So we did a very quick tour around Geneva. And
Okay.
then we just traveled by train over to Lausanne for the night. It's a very quick train ride. And that's where we stayed at our first hotel.
Ooh, okay. I'm really excited to hear about the hotel because you guys use the Amex Fine Hotels and Resorts program, right?
We did.
Tell
We
us about
did.
it.
I love that program. The Fine Hotels and Resorts program is so great because it makes you feel like you have hotel status when you don't have status.
Did you use cash to book these though, right? You do because I think you have the option to use your Amex points, but you are doing it in the portal, so it's like really kind of inflated points prices. So like I think maybe you should just dig into like the costs of things and then everything you get from booking through the program.
So in this situation, we did decide to book all on points
Oh,
rather
you
than
did.
cash. We
Wow.
did. Switzerland's a very expensive place. And so we wanted to minimize the out of pocket expenses for this
Yeah.
trip. And so we had to make decisions about where are we going to use points, where are we going to use cash, and make sure we get a good redemption. On our flights, we had great redemption value. But in this situation, this hotel cost $458 a night. So, when you're clocking in almost $500 a night, we just really did not want to pay $1,000 for 2 nights of a hotel, but we wanted
No.
to, it's our 15th wedding anniversary. We wanted to have that experience. And so we decided to do the points, which was not a terrible redemption when you factor in all of the benefits of the Fine Hotels and Resorts program.
Yeah.
So that means we had breakfast for two both days. We had the huge breakfast buffet. It meant that we've got a suite upgrade. We got upgraded to a junior suite. We had this big double balcony. And then
Oh,
we had late checkout. We had $100 credit that we used towards a dinner at the hotel. So when you have all those extra benefits, it really wasn't a horrible redemption. And we paid, it was basically like 1-to-1. So a night was $458. We paid 45,000 points, 860, which is a huge amount of points to drop. But we used about 90,000 points when you add the 2 nights together. And it was part of a sign up bonus for Jared's Amex Platinum that we just had sitting there. We
yeah.
hadn't used. And we were like, you know what? This is the special thing we want to use it for.
Yes. Earn and burn. Make those memories. I think that's amazing. I think it sounds totally worth it and really, really magical. So the next day, right? You were there, you were in Geneva, then you went to Lausanne and you stayed in what was the hotel called?
The Lausanne Palace.
Oh, oh, how lovely.
Yes, we
Yes.
stayed in a palace. one
So,
one
yes.
quick trip that we learned, one quick tip that we learned the hard way. When you get off the train in Lausanne, okay, we're in Switzerland. What is in Switzerland? Mountains, hills.
Yes.
Our hotel, Jared saw, was pretty close to the train station,
Uh-oh.
not too far. We can just walk. It is
Straight uphill.
straight up hills. straight uphill with our suitcases. And we were so tired because it was the end of the day that we had flown in.
Yeah.
Then we played in Geneva all day. And now we're walking straight uphill with these suitcases. Come to find out the next day, which Jared knew, but I guess he didn't think that we were going to need it. Then he regretted it. There's a metro, and we could have just
Oh
hopped
no.
on it, zipped one stop up, would have taken us all the way up the hill and not had to carry our luggage. So if you decide to stay at this hotel, it is lovely, but use the metro and don't lug your bags up the hill.
That is hilarious. Okay, so you have this relaxing first night, and then the next day, was that your Gruyere Palace and Fondue day?
It was. It
Ooh.
sure
These were,
was.
I think, some of my favorite clips from this trip. First of all, I was raised by a mother who spent a significant amount of time in Switzerland as a missionary as a teen. And
Really?
yes, my mom went with Youth with a
You never
Mission to
told me
Switzerland.
that.
Yeah. So she has raised me with this like deep love of the Swiss Alps. She's talked about them all my life. And she was wanting me to send your pictures and things to her as I was seeing them because she was just loving it so much. But we were also raised in a house where we did like fondue on special occasions now and then. And so I was watching you eat real fondue in Switzerland and I was just dying. It looks so good. So tell us this whole day. Just take us through it.
Yes. So we hopped on a train and you had to make a quick connection. Took maybe an hour and a half max. It didn't even seem like that long though, because when you're traveling in Switzerland, everything is so beautiful outside the
Yeah.
window that you don't feel like you're going that far. So it was a little day trip up to Gruyere and we went to the castle. We got there first thing in the morning, which is always our favorite travel tip, is go early, wake up early and get there early. And so there was no one there. We really had this castle all to ourselves for a while. And this castle we also got in free, I should mention, with the Swiss travel pass. So we didn't have to pay for admission. And the grounds were gorgeous. It was built in the 1300s.
That is literally crazy. That's
It is
crazy.
so crazy. And it passed through some hands over the years, but eventually there were some 19th century artists who took over and it kind of became a place where artists got together and met. And so the paintings on the walls are just incredible. Absolutely
Oh,
incredible. So we
amazing.
loved doing that. We enjoyed exploring that castle, and especially that we got in with the Swiss travel pass. And then we went and we got our fondue,
Yum.
which was quite an experience, I
Oh,
will
have you
say.
had fondue before?
I have had the melting pot.
Oh, right. Okay. So I think that the melting pot does like an Americanized version of fondue. I think that the cheeses that you really are finding in Switzerland, and probably some of the ones that I experienced growing up, are they are an abrasive kind of cheese. I
Yes.
don't know how else to put it. I love it. I love it, but I think that it is an acquired taste. And anybody who has not seen Mary Ellen's absolutely hilarious, like this Southern woman takes on Switzerland reels on Instagram, like please go watch those. You will crack up. It is so funny. So okay, well talk me through your feelings on the fondue then.
Yeah, so this southern girl with the fondue cheese was a little taken aback, but they bring you three things with the fondue. And we ended up having fondue two different places. We wanted to compare and really get the full experience.
Good for
And
you.
both places, they brought us the exact same thing with the fondue, and that is some chunks of bread, a sack, literally a bag sack of warm little potatoes, little circular potatoes, and gherkins.
Pickles. Now that's new for me.
I love
Okay.
the gherkins. They were
Oh,
my favorite
that
part.
sounds delicious, but I don't know that I would want to put them in cheese.
It's funny because the first lady at the first restaurant we went to was explaining to us what to do with each thing, and she was like, "And the gherkins, do whatever you want." But I
Okay,
dipped
so
them in
they're
the cheese.
oh, all right. Well, there you go. I love the tiny sack of potatoes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. An actual sack of potatoes. It
Yeah.
was So cute and hilarious. It's like warmed in the sack, and both places brought us that. So I guess that
It's
is
a
how it
thing.
is served.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this day is our first example of you need to be able to pivot in Switzerland due to weather.
Okay.
Our first day was actually a gorgeous day. The day itself was beautiful, but we realized that the next 3 days that we were going to be up in the mountains were not going to be beautiful and
Oh
we're going to
no.
be very overcast. So we were very sad and disappointed, but my husband, thanks to his research, and he had created kind of backup plans for each day, we were like, you know what? Is there a mountain nearby that we can go to the top of in case we don't get another beautiful day like this to see a full Switzerland view? And so we
Yes.
pivoted, and very close to Grier's Castle is Le Molisson. It's a mountain you can go up. It is stunning. You ride a cable car
Oh,
first, and then you switch to, I guess in that one it might, no, it's a funicular at first, and then you switch to a cable car. Now, it should be noted that this was not included in the Swiss Travel Pass. A lot of
okay.
times, the gondolas and funiculars, sometimes you can get a discount. Maybe if you have Swiss Travel Pass or the half fare card, you can get some amount off your ticket. In this situation, we did not get a discount having it. But
Okay.
again, we knew that we needed to do this because we wanted to see the beautiful mountain, take our chance. So we went up to it. That's where I saw nuns on the mountaintop. And the whole Sound of Music-ness of being in Switzerland, the hills were covered in wildflowers
Ugh,
while looking at all the mountains. And I just was like, I'm bursting into song.
I would have done the exact same thing. You know me. I was singing Sound of Music songs to you through the phone and my voice messages while you were there.
I know. I immediately sent you pictures and videos, and it's so funny that like the same things were coming to our mind
Yes.
with every
Like,
little
our
thing.
heels are alive.
They were
I was kind of
so
crying.
alive. They
Yes.
were very much alive.
Oh my gosh. It's so amazing. And I love that you just like full pivoted because you're like, we are going to get this mountain view. And I guess that ended up being a good idea because did you get any more mountain views for the next couple of days?
It was a great idea because we did not. It ended up being overcast and rainy for several days. Now, by the end of our trip, we will get there, and we did have some views, but this was probably the prettiest day of the whole time
Mm.
we were there. So we were thankful that we pivoted. What we missed out on because we did this, we were going to go back in Lausanne is an Olympic museum that is fantastic, but instead of being at the indoor museum, we were like, you know what, we're going to the mountaintop.
I totally fully support that decision. That sounds like the right decision. Although the Olympic Museum probably was very cool. So you go back to your hotel, the Amex, the Lausanne Palace, one more
Yes.
night, right? And then the next day, you got to take a very famous train in Switzerland called the Golden Pass, which
Yeah.
like such a cool name. How was that experience?
So we took the Golden Pass Express, and we did the Prestige class, which
Ooh,
is the highest class
oh,
of the train.
oh, how fancy!
So it was so fancy. And you have to have reservations for prestige class that are separate from buying a ticket. So that's an
Oh,
important thing to note if you're planning a trip. For prestige class, reservations are mandatory. And for first or second class, they are also encouraged. And it's just reserving your seat, but then you will ultimately have to buy a ticket
mm.
as well. So that's just a little weird, tricky nuance. But the train ride itself was very beautiful. It was the reason the train is famous is because from basically floor to ceiling windows and some smaller
Ah,
windows at the top, so you can really feel like you are in nature as you go and see everything.
amazing.
So we enjoyed it. If you do that and you go from Lausanne to Interlaken, which is the route that we did, you're going to want to be on when the train is moving forward, the left side. So try to buy your tickets on that left side. I felt like the views out that window were a little better than the right side. So that's just a small tip for you.
That's
But
very
overall,
useful.
yeah, I hope so. I hope when people plan a trip, little nuggets like that will be helpful. Overall, though, this is going to be a controversial take.
Uh-oh. Okay, before you hear the rest of today's episode, we have a new Facebook group and we want to tell you all about it.
If you're like us and you love exploring new destinations without breaking the bank, you're going to want to join.
We've launched this exclusive Facebook group dedicated to sharing tips, tricks, and insider secrets on maximizing your travel experience using points and miles.
So whether you're a seasoned pro or just dipping your toes into the world of traveling on credit card rewards, this is the perfect community for you.
Plus, you'll have a chance to connect with our amazing listeners, ask each other questions, and learn from each other's experiences.
So if you're ready to take your travel game to the next level, join us in the Traveling on Points, Wonderland on Points podcast Facebook group.
You can find the link for the group in our show notes or just search it on Facebook. We cannot wait to see you there sharing your travel stories and picking up some new tricks along the way. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Go for it.
It's expensive, the Golden Pass.
Yeah.
And basically the same train route, you can ride a regular train. It was not special enough to drop the extra money, in my opinion. And I decided that I was already kind of thinking this. And then later in our trip, when we left Interlaken and we took the train away from there, it was a very nice train that had almost as big of windows and it was an even prettier view. And that's when it clicked with me. I was like, you know what? I don't know that Golden Pass train, just when I'm choosing where to spend my money, if I am budgeting and maybe I can't decide between two experiences, I don't know that I would pay for that again.
Yeah, because you could have taken one that was covered by the pass, right? That you already had.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is extremely good to know and really not that controversial. I think it's fine.
Well, it's famous. Everybody wants to do the Golden Pass train, the Golden Pass train. But in the end, I don't know. I feel like there are better things to spend your money on in Switzerland, but that's just me.
Well, I appreciate your opinion. So, okay, you guys are arriving in Interlaken and you checked into your hotel before you did any exploring. So, is this another hotel on points?
So, for this hotel in Interlaken, we used our VentureX travel credit. So, with my VentureX card, you have a $300 travel credit. So, I did pay for the hotel. I paid the annual fee for the VentureX card,
Right.
but with that $395 annual fee is the $300 hotel credit, and I put that towards this hotel in Interlaken.
Nice. Did it cover the whole thing?
It didn't. It covered all of one night. We stayed at this hotel for 2 nights, so we paid for about half of the second night.
Okay, that's awesome. What's it
this
called?
was also a hotel that had free breakfast, which of course
We
I
love
love.
that. Yes.
It was called Hotel Bernerhof, and I would very highly recommend it because it is right beside the train station. When we got off, it was just right there. And that was a beautiful thing to just take our bags, hop, leave them. And like I said, there are lockers at train stations too, but it was really nice to check in the hotel and just run back out of the hotel, hop back on a train and go on our way.
Oh, it is so nice to know you just have a room waiting for you when you come back. Like, that's a great feeling. Okay, so we're in Interlaken. What did you do in the first region? And also maybe explain to people what a region is.
Well, Interlaken is a great base camp for doing mountain activities in Switzerland. So it's almost like a ski town where you can base yourself. It's just like a little hub.
Okay.
And really, you leave the hub and go out each day to different activities. So we left Interlaken and hopped on a train, short ride to Grindelwald. And that's where we rented e-bikes, hopped on our e-bikes and headed up the mountain.
Oh, man. I feel like really quickly you have a little e-bike story that you should probably tell.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just do it.
Okay.
Because Mary Ellen texted us, me and Lindsay, and she was like, fun story, guys. Go for it.
Oh, my word. Okay. Well, our first mistake was we rented the e-bikes for 2 days. Have you ever spent a lot of time riding a bike, Joe?
Yeah, I have in Florida in Little Beach Town. Your butt goes numb. You can't ride it the second day.
Exactly. Okay, that is mistake number one. The next day, you are so sore and miserable from having to sit on that bike that you do not want to get on it again. So, really, the story that you're referencing happened on day two. And
Oh.
day two, our butts hurt so bad we did not want to get on the bikes, but we did because we rented them and we had a plan and we were sticking to it. So the first thing that we tried to do, this was a very I Love Lucy moment, is we were like, how can we make these seats more comfortable? And our beds at the Hotel Bernerhof had these small memory foam pillows,
Oh my
which,
gosh.
and I was like, what if we take these memory foam pillows and we use our phone bungee cords that we have to keep our phones attached to us, and we bungee them
Oh my
to
gosh.
the bike seat.
You actually left out that part when you told me the story.
Yeah, so it was a comedy of all kinds of errors and things riding these bikes. But day two, the story you are referencing was when we were so sore. It was raining. We went on a bike trail from Interlaken. We were trying to go over to Lauterbrunnen, which has this gorgeous valley and waterfall. And we were determined we were going, even though it was kind of foggy and raining. And so we're riding the e-bikes, and it was all going okay, all things considered. But we get to this one really steep part that is steep and a curve at the same time. We're riding beside this rushing river, and it has been raining so much that the rivers are out of control. If you get in this river, you are swept away. It is going so hard. So we go up this curve, and I realize I'm not making this. I am not making this hill.
Oh,
And
even
so
on an
when I
e-bike,
go, even on the
does
an
it doesn't
e-bike,
isn't it supposed to do a lot of the work for you?
it turns out it doesn't do all the work.
Oh, that's
Okay.
rude. Rude.
And when you're in Switzerland and it's Alps, it is very steep. So you on the big hills, it is actually still kind of hard, even though it's an e-bike. And I tried to stop and put my feet down because I realized I'm not making it up this steep hill that is also turning. And then I fell over, and the e-bike, which is quite heavy, fell on top of me, and I slid down the mountainside into a ditch way too close to this river,
Oh
I might
my
add,
gosh.
and landed there with the e-bike completely on top of me. Help, help.
Did Jared witness this, or did he was he in front of you and he didn't even notice and then had to turn around and was like, Mary Ellen, where'd you go?
He was behind me, so he
Oh,
saw the
okay. He
whole
saw that.
thing. I was honestly very bummed that he didn't have the camera, the 360 action camera that he had been filming. He didn't have the camera on because once he knew that I was okay, we both were like, oh man, we should have got that on camera.
That's such a travel creator thing.
But I think I fell into some poisonous plants
Oh
because
no.
both of us, after that, my legs that were exposed I had leggings on, but the part of my leg skin that was exposed itched so bad
Oh
after that.
no.
I don't know if I fell into some poison ivy or
Oh.
what, but I tell you what, I took quite the spill, and if anybody saw it, they would have laughed and I would have been okay with it.
Oh my gosh, that's such a sad story and such an alarming text to get when you're on a trip, but I'm glad you're okay. Do you want to backtrack a little about your first day on the bikes?
Yes, so we went from Grindelwald up to the top of a mountain called First, and we actually stopped at Bort. So we left our bikes at Bort, our e-bikes, and then we hopped on a gondola and went up to the top of First. And this is when I had perhaps one of the most special moments of my little K-drama life.
Okay.
The beloved K-dramas that I love, the one that started it all for me, my very first K-drama was called Crash Landing on You. It is still available on Netflix. You should check it out. Give it a couple episodes. The first one, you'll be like, what am I watching? If you've never watched a K-drama before, you might be a little confused. Stick with it. It is the greatest show I've ever watched in my entire life. I love it. It was filmed in Switzerland. It was filmed in South Korea, but then portions of it are filmed in Switzerland. And so all around Switzerland, there are spots where they actually have a permanent structure there that honors the TV show and has a little movie clip that shows you like this is where this scene was filmed.
Okay, the fact that you were able to find K-drama filming locations in Switzerland is just next level. Did you plan this? Or this just
Oh yes.
Oh
Oh
my
yes.
gosh. So you already knew. You knew parts of this were filmed in Switzerland. You're like, we're hitting those.
Oh, absolutely. That was a big inspiration for planning the trip. Now, I did not know that they had little photo ops set up
Yeah, I
for
mean,
you that
that's very
honor.
K-dramas must be bigger than I realize if that's the case. Because, like, if an American show is filmed somewhere, you would never go to the filming location and find a plaque unless it was like huge, a huge
Yeah,
show.
this show really, it blew up internationally. It ended up being a really huge K-drama. Most people, the biggest K-drama that maybe people in America who aren't familiar with them know of is like Squid Game. It came out before Squid Game. You've heard of Squid Game, right? That
Yes.
was a K-drama. It wasn't really a
I thought
K-drama.
it
I
was like a
guess it's a drama.
reality show.
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't call it necessarily quite the same as the dramas, but
I
it
didn't
blew
watch
up
it.
big time.
Yeah.
There's a huge industry. The K-drama, Korean television is a massive industry, and Crash Landing on You was a really big international success. So, yeah, I was shocked too, though, because like you said, there's a lot of things film all over, and I was super impressed that they had the
It must
photo
have
op
been
there.
very exciting for you. Okay, so you're up at the top.
Up at the top, there is a cliff walk there that everyone should do. It doesn't cost anything. You know, the gondola ride is going to cost money up there, but then you can do a cliff walk that is totally free. Don't pay any extra for it. They let you go and take photos on the end that looks like, I mean, if you're afraid of heights, it's stretching it for you. It's really pushing you to your limits. But it's gorgeous. Oh my goodness. The views are gorgeous. And we weren't even there, like I said, on a particularly beautiful day. It was overcast that day, but it cleared up just enough that we really
Oh,
could soak in the views. So
I love that. That's amazing. So then you had to get back down to your e-bikes, or did you do more while you were up there?
we didn't do more while we were up there, but there are quite a few other activities in that area of Bort and First. A lot of times, I had a friend who actually visited several days before me on a really beautiful day, and she said the lines for those activities were out of control, like hour-long lines to do some of these mountain activities. You could rent these scooter things and go down the mountain, which honestly looked terrifying to me because they would go
Oh,
so fast down the mountain.
yeah, I
But a
don't
lot
know.
of the activities had long lines, so I wouldn't. I don't know that I would choose to do those activities out of everything that there is to offer in Switzerland. I think a lot of times the lines can be kind of long, but we were there in the afternoon on an overcast day, and the lines were not bad when we were there.
That's perfect. That worked out very well for you guys. Okay, so I feel like we did day 2 on the bikes already, although there more to that because you were supposed to be traveling up to the top of a famous mountain, but then you had to pivot again because of the weather? Or did you have to pivot because you crashed your bike?
No, we pivoted because of the weather.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was pretty drizzly and rainy. The whole time we were riding the e-bikes that morning were drizzly, and when we got to the famous Lauterbrunnen Valley, we saw nothing. It was so
Sad.
rainy and foggy that it just wasn't what we were hoping for. So we decided to pivot, and we thought through. We saw one helpful thing that they have in Switzerland, and other helpful things, because they have so much figured out, is you can go to various websites and see webcams at the top of the famous mountains.
Genius.
Yes, so you know what the view is going to be. So when the weather changes, you can say, okay, well, what is it looking like on top of Schilthorn right now? That's the mountain we were going to. Completely fogged in, you can't see anything. So we decided, all right, we're not doing that. We're scrapping that plan, and let's see what would be pretty that we can do that's lower than the clouds, lower than the mountains. And so we did a Lake Brin's boat trip, which we
Oh.
had on our schedule the next day, but we just switched some things up.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. How long is a boat trip?
We were on the boat probably an hour, and the boat goes past another famous filming location from Crash Landing on You, Istawald, where there's this very famous dock from the show. And then it takes you to the Grand Hotel Geisbach, where the show was also filmed. So we went there. But when you go
Aw.
up the Grand Hotel, you ride the oldest funicular train in Europe,
Oh my gosh. I just got
which
goosebumps for some reason.
funiculars are so cool. They're basically mountainside trains that just take you the dock. The boat left us right at the bottom of a hill on the dock, and then there's this train that takes you straight up the mountain rather than you having to hike or ride a bus or something. And so you hop on the funicular and it zips you right up to the hotel at the top, which has this magnificent, magnificent, like 6-tiered waterfall.
That's
Gorgeous.
amazing. Did you just explore the hotel? Did you have lunch there? Like what can you do there?
They have a terrace that overlooks Lake Brin's, which is this beautiful color, turquoise, really gorgeous water. And we got hot chocolate, I got a little lunch
Aw.
there. And then you can hike up the waterfall. So you can go behind one of the layers of the waterfall, and the water is rushing in front of your face. You
Oh
can
my
continue to
gosh.
hike up to each tier if you like. And so we did that because those were things that were still beautiful, even though it was a little drizzly, it wasn't
Yeah.
blue skies. And we really, really enjoyed that.
Oh, that is amazing. I love a waterfall. Okay, so second night, you're done with all this. You're coming back for your second night at the hotel Bernerhof. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I guess.
Uh,
I mean,
yes, amazing. This is the story that I have been most excited about hearing because I did not know that you were going to go paragliding, Mary Ellen.
you did it?
No, you never told me that. So
I
when I
didn't.
saw no, and like, I don't have like a fear of heights per se. Like I can stand on the edge of a cliff and look down, but the idea of paragliding makes me want to die. My heart is in my throat thinking about that. So I saw these videos of you and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you did this. I want to hear all the details right now.
So paragliding was actually the number one thing that I wanted to do. It was number one on my list of when we go to Switzerland, we're paragliding. Not to call back to Crash Landing on You again, but in Crash Landing on You, the main character paraglides, both in South Korea and then that's the premise of the show. I just have to tell you, she starts in South Korea, but she is paragliding, and a storm comes up, and she ends in North Korea.
Oh
And
dear.
so the show is her behind the line of North Korea, falling in love ultimately with a North Korean soldier and getting back to South Korea. And then Switzerland comes into play. So paragliding is a big part of the show. And I have always wanted to do it since childhood. I saw a paraglider when I was a kid, and I thought, that seems like the most amazing thing in the whole world to me, just gliding like a bird. It seemed so peaceful. I
Yeah.
always wanted to do it.
Okay. Okay,
And
and
it
you did it. And was it so peaceful or did you feel like you jumped out of an airplane? Because I don't know. I
no,
don't
it
know.
was so peaceful.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
so it is the most chill, peaceful thrill adventure activity that you could ever do.
Okay.
So it does not have that scary moment that jumping out of a plane would have. There's no stomach dropping. When you paraglide, you're first of all, you have a guide. You're
Yes,
attached to a
yes.
guide, okay, a pilot, a trained, licensed pilot, and you just run off the side of the mountain. And
Oh
as
my gosh.
you're just running down the hill. It doesn't seem like a cliff that's scary. You're just kind of running down a hill, and all of a sudden you lift off and you're just soaring like a bird. And it's so stunning. Everywhere you look is beautiful. It was everything I wanted it to be and more.
Oh, I feel
It's not the
emotional.
cheapest activity,
Well,
but
I
for
wouldn't think so.
me, yeah, you want to pay a pretty penny because
Uh-huh.
you want to make sure it all works.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I don't want to go on a
Take
budget
my money.
paragliding.
No.
Yeah. Um, it was fantastic. We used Paragliding Interlaken was the name of the company we used. You meet them right in the middle of Interlaken and you end up landing at a field right there by their shop, right in the middle of Interlaken. And my husband is very much afraid of heights. The day before, at the very end of the day, we went up on this panoramic bridge.
Yeah.
He was terrified. At the
Oh my
panoramic
gosh.
bridge, he was not a fan. He couldn't get off it fast enough. He was holding on. He really did not enjoy the panoramic bridge.
Oh no.
Paragliding, he said, honestly, it did not, but something about I don't know how to really put it into words, but it's not for him. It was nowhere near as scary as that bridge. And he
Okay.
actually felt very comfortable and enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel like I could try it and maybe not die.
You really, yeah, you feel so secure. You're sitting there
Yeah.
and you're just sitting comfortably and looking at the beautiful view and you kind of gently float down. If you are a thrill seeker, you could have them pull on one side and you can make spiraling turns.
Yeah. That
And
sounds like
that
throwing up to me.
Yes, so I did one because the guy said, "Do you want to do this?" And I thought, "Okay, I will do I don't think I'm going to like it. I'll do it one time just to see." And immediately I was like, "Okay, thank you for that, but
Well
I'll just
done.
I'm all done. I'll float down the rest of the way because I do not enjoy that roller coaster feeling as much as my husband does. So I gently floated down. One tip if you are going to do this, I highly recommend the company. I have had another friend years past use the same company. She felt like they were trustworthy. I had a great experience. I booked them through Viator and I did that through Rakuten on a
Genius.
day that Rakuten had 10% cash back for Viator. So even though it's an
Genius.
expensive activity, I tried to maximize, okay, what's my points and miles angle here? And sometimes it's earning. Let me maximize earning. I'll do it through Rakuten.
Absolutely. That is genius. I love it. At least if you got to spend the money, you're earning some really nice points on that. So beautiful. After paragliding, you had to pivot again because of the weather. So,
All the pivoting.
what was the plan and what'd you do instead?
So what we ended up doing, we checked out of our hotel and we were making our way to Lucerne. We had hoped to go up to the top of a mountain called Shilthorn. Again, it just wasn't happening. Actually, that afternoon after paragliding, we had moved several times. We were going to do an activity called a Via Ferrata. And I think I've told you maybe about Via Ferrata before, but I don't know if I've told our listeners. Are you familiar with that?
I don't think so. I'm not sure you told me either. Maybe it'll ring a bell once you start talking, but we definitely haven't talked about it on the podcast.
It's another activity. I've really pushed my afraid of heights husband to the limits.
Oh
So
my gosh.
we have done Via Ferrata in Banff in Canada. We did Via Ferrata in West Virginia in the United States. What is Via Ferrata, I think, means the Iron Way, if I remember correctly. And it was started, or Iron Path. It originated back in World War One or two, and it was a way that soldiers were crossing the Alps, and they would put basically metal rungs into the side of
Oh my
mountains,
gosh.
and it would allow them, almost like a ladder, a way to climb over mountains. And so these days we use some of those same paths that were back over, they're all over Europe, and now there are other places in the world where they've put these metal rungs into mountains. You do wear a harness and you have two carabiners you clip in, and it helps people who are not true mountain climbers. I would never actually be able to scale a mountain. Mountain climbing is very difficult physically. But Via Ferrata makes it pretty possible for the average person to be able to climb a mountain. And you are typically hanging off the
Okay.
mountainside.
Sorry, no. Sorry, no. That sounds scarier than paragliding.
I think it probably is. Honestly, I think it probably is. We've
Well,
done it several times. But my husband, that actually was what he was I was the most looking forward to paragliding. He was the most looking forward to the Via
Oh,
Ferrata.
that's
There's
sad.
many all over Switzerland. We had chosen one that we were going to rent the gear. We had the gear reserved ahead of time. In the end, we had never actually put money down on it,
Oh,
so we were
good.
able to just cancel our reservation. So after we went paragliding, unfortunately, we were not able to do our Via Ferrata. So instead, we pivoted and we took a train to a place called, and I want to say it correctly so badly in my heart, I want to say it correctly, meringue? Basically, like meringue. Like, have you ever had meringue, the
Yes,
egg
yes,
whites that
yes.
you whip up?
Yep. Lemon
Okay, it
meringue.
is.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So it is pronounced similar to meringue. So we took the train to Meringen, Switzerland. And this is the moment that I was like, this is better than the Golden Pass. So if you
Wow.
take the train from Interlaken to Meringen, it was included in our Swiss travel pass. We paid nothing extra for it. We didn't need to make reservations. And I really felt like it was just as beautiful, probably more beautiful than the Golden Pass. So at Meringen, we switched trains and we went to a place called the Air Gorge. And it was delightful. It is a river runs through, it's a gorge that you can walk along the inside of the gorge, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it was an activity that we could do when it was a little overcast and it wouldn't be
Yeah.
affected by there not being blue skies. Couple tips with that. That was the train station that we needed coins instead of a
Oh,
credit card
okay.
for. But the sweet little lady on the inside just let us leave our bags with her. And we didn't actually, because we didn't have any
Oh.
coins. And so she just let us leave our bags. It was so precious. We hopped on a smaller train that was just like 10 minutes to go to this gorge. If you do that, one tip that my husband had thoroughly researched, even though this was a backup plan, it was researched. That's how thorough he is. Ride the train to the end of the line and walk from back to front through the gorge rather than front to back.
Oh.
It
Okay.
makes for a little bit of better transportation options on the other end. So we
Makes
walked
sense.
back to front, and when you exit out of the front, there is a playground there that looked fantastic. So if you have children, it's a great stop after you see the gorge to play at the playground. There's a restaurant there. We, though, rode the small train back to Meringen and went to an Italian restaurant,
Oh.
Ristorante Pizzeria Leone. Incredible.
And cracks
Incredible.
me up. Like, first of all, this shows you what I know. I had no idea there was an Italian speaking part of Switzerland. Second of all, didn't realize you could get like bomb Italian food in Switzerland. So I am learning so much and I'm hungry.
It was the best pasta I've ever had in my life, and it has to be because there's such an Italian influence there in
Yeah,
Switzerland.
that's
So
amazing.
delicious. So after we finished our meal there, we continued our journey on to Lucerne, and we will talk about that next week because
In part
Switzerland,
two.
there's so much to say, but it's all fabulous. And I really hope that by giving these details, more so than me just getting to tell you about my trip, I hope that it's helpful for people planning a trip. I want you to
Oh,
learn from
yeah.
our mistakes. I want you to learn things that took my husband hours of digging through various websites and piecing together information. I hope to tell it to you all in one place so that you can plan your trip.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said at the top, we are going to have all of the links in the show notes. So you can really use this as the backbone for your itinerary for traveling Switzerland on points and miles. And you're going to have to tune in next week to hear about the second half of her amazing Switzerland trip. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you guys. Please send us emails if you are planning a trip to Switzerland. Feel free to ask questions. I'll be sure to ask my husband, who is the one who actually did all the research. And we will get back to you. It was absolutely worth the whole year of planning. I feel like we put into it. We loved it so much. So thank you for being
Amazing.
here and listening to the podcast. We're so glad that you're part of our community. Make sure you join the Facebook page
Yes.
and please share your points and miles wins and your travel, the things you learn traveling, the hotels you visit. We want to hear all about those too. So please share
Yes.
those in our Facebook community.
Absolutely. We love you all so much, and we will see you here next time. If you enjoyed this show today, please consider writing us a review or clicking 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please subscribe and follow along so that you never miss an episode.
You can follow the podcast on Instagram or YouTube at Wonderland on Points Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Family Travel for the Win with the number 4.
And you can find me on Instagram at Points to Wonderland.
If you're thinking about getting a new travel rewards credit card, consider using the links in our show notes. Using our links helps to support us and keep our podcast going so we can provide you with all the latest tips and tricks when it comes to traveling on points.
And if you aren't sure which card is right for you, shoot us an email at wonderlandonpoints@gmail.com, and we would be happy to walk you through a free card consultation. That's also a great place to send us all of your comments and questions. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you here next time.